President, let me thank you first. It is an honor to welcome you in the main news of Mega Television in Greece. And since I have this privilege just a few days before your visit in Athens, let's talk about the agenda of your talks. I understand you're going to sign certain agreements with the Greek government. Would you help us understand the fields of your cooperation?
I think basically the fields which are interested for countries of our size. Both of us are not very large countries. We have a long history, and we have to become modern, because the size of the country today is not the geographic dimension, but the scientific development. We look upon Greece as a friend, historically and actually. We would like to develop the best friendly relations, looking for the future. There is nothing controversial between us, and there is much common to the two of us. We face the same problems, we face the same menaces, and we face the same future. I personally have a particular reason to be thankful to Greece, because my father became a prisoner of war. He served in the Second World War in the British Army. And for a year, a Greek monastery hid him away from the Nazis and kept him alive. He was finally caught again by the Germans, but after 5 years, when he was free, he came back home, and he taught my children how to sing Greek songs. He spoke the Greek language, and my whole family is to this very day always very sensitive about his experience and memories of Greece.
What is the plan behind the cooperation of Israel with Greece and Cyprus? Is it just business, or there is a certain common vision to share for all three countries?
It's strange, because there was a common base, because we are so close philosophically and so close geographically. We were never close politically as well. Now we have to add this third dimension to make the closeness in territorial terms and the closeness in values covered up or assisted by the political dimension. And I think the ground is ready. You are willing, the Cypriots are willing, we are willing. And it's also interesting that the Cypriots are the first island in the Middle East to become part of Europe. Greece is part of Europe. We are associated with the Europeans, and there must be a European taste to this relationship as well.
Talking about Europe, Greece and Cyprus are members of the European Union. The European Union now, as we know, is looking for diversification to its sources of oil and natural gas. Do you see in the future the possibility of for a new pipelines network, for instance, that could connect Israel with Cyprus, Greece, and Europe?
Yes, surely. I mean, it is the call of geography, and it is the conclusion of economy, and why not? But even in the oil domain and energy domain, there will be many changes in the near future in two ways. A better use of the available oil and gas and other sources of energy, and some new sources of oil and gas and energy. So the status quo is the status quo. We are going now to enter a different setup of both discovering oil and distributing oil and gas.
On the other hand, Turkey does not recognize the right of Cyprus to look for oil or natural gas at the offshore fields. This attitude is causing certain worries in Greece for the sake of the stability in our region.
I think there's an international law, and all of us will have to respect the international law. There's no special laws for every country, otherwise we cannot coexist. I do believe it is finally the international law that will decide the situation and will provide the solution.
Greece finds itself right now, Mr. President, in the middle of the so-called European economic crisis. There's a new government in my country, and one of the main priorities is to attract foreign investments. Is there any specific plan on the table with Israel right now?
Look, I want to tell you, we went through a larger crisis than Greece. I was Prime Minister in 1984. And then the inflation of Israel was 400%, imagine. And we have had to take very tough decisions. We cut salaries, we cut wages, we stopped subsidies, we cut the budget. And you know, I thought they're going to kill me every morning. The measures were so great and deep and painful. To my very big surprise, the more we took extreme measures, the more the government became popular. Because they say, those are gentlemen who are working seriously. You know, by the end, when we went out from 400% inflation to 16% in less than a year, my popularity went up to 86%. And there wasn't a single issue in the economy that they didn't cut and hurt. But they did one thing, I think, which is important, to do it together with the people and to do it together in a trio: government, unions, and producers. Because usually the unions and the producers are suspicious that the government will not do her part enough. So I started by cutting the budget of the government very deeply. There were sessions of the government that rested for 36 hours. And I personally cut every budget. If a minister fall asleep, I cut his budget. When he woke up, he was already angry. But we didn't have a choice. And I believe what we did, you can do. It's painful. I can understand the people. It's really hard for them on a daily basis, for the mothers, for the children. But it's like entering in a hospital to cure yourself. It's not pleasant to be in a hospital. It's painful. But if you want to become healthy, you have to do it.
Time to talk about Middle East now, especially since we see that there are significant political changes on the map from day to day. First it was Tunisia, then Egypt, Libya, now Syria. What do all those changes mean for the Middle East? And all that's happening, is it positive for Israel?
Yes. I mean, there may be a transitional period that will create some difficulties, but in the long run, yes, look. It's not that those countries are changing. All countries are changing because the world has changed. And nobody has a choice, either to go with the modern age or to lag behind and really become poor and irrelevant. What's happening is, you know, governments are no longer controlling their own economy. It's true about Greece, it's true about Israel, it's true about Italy and Spain, everybody. Instead of a national economy, you have a global economy. No country can save the effects of the global economy. And yet there is no country that can control the global economy. So a global economy without a global government, and the national government lost the control of their economy. Now, if you want to enter, you have to follow the new rules of economy, which is global, which is science-based, which is imaginative, and which is attentive to the expectation of a young generation. In Greece, 80% of your land is mountains and deserts. You have 20%, which is good for agriculture, more or less. From this 20%, you can do a lot by introducing a high-tech agriculture and combining good fruits and good vegetables with beautiful islands. is combining the best of the past and the best of the future.
Okay, let's become now a little bit more specific about the Middle East. Do you think it is possible for the Assad regime to survive in Syria?
No. People are reluctant. They say if Assad will go, we don't have an alternative. But the truth is that Assad is no longer an alternative. I think the best way to go out from the crisis in Syria, and we have a moral crisis and a political crisis. The moral crisis, none of us can see the young children being killed by a brutal dictator. To see these small coffins with the children, none of us can remain indifferent. On the other hand, if you want to intervene, they'll say you're a foreign country. It's none of your business. I believe what should be done is that the United Nations should empower the Arab League to establish a transitional government for a couple of years to govern the situation in Syria. Let the Arabs handle the Arab affairs. They know better than us. They know the tribes. Let them have blue helmets. They can be a force of the United Nations, supported by the United Nations. It is, in my judgment, the best solution to the present situation in Syria.
Finally, Iran. Let me ask you a simple theoretical question. One could ask, if one country can have an atomic bomb like Israel, for example, why Iran should not?
Well, I won't answer about Israel, but I shall say why Iran not. I don't know anybody who is threatening Iran. I don't know any enemy of Iran. And as you know, Iran is threatening the destruction of Israel. Not only that, Iran has imperial ambitions. Iran wants to become the hegemon of the Middle East. The Middle East is basically made of Arabs, not of Muslims. And they want their way of Muslim to take over the Middle East. In the 21st century, there is no other country on earth that wants to become an empire. They are the only one. So if you want to become an empire, if you threaten to destroy another country, if you become the center of terror, and develop a nuclear bomb, my God, what a greater danger can you have? So it's not only Israel. I don't know any leader today in the world that doesn't consider Iran as a menace to the peace in the world and to the security of its people. And why should they? They don't lack land. They don't lack oil. It's an appetite to be greater and larger and controlling. It's the old-fashioned ambition to have more land, so to have more power.
Prevention is an idea one should consider under the circumstances.
Oh yes, I think not only us, the Americans are saying it. Clear and loud, it's not only the Americans. It's a coalition that comprises Europe as well. And they say we would like to achieve it by non-military means, like economic sanctions. But if the non-military means will not be sufficient, all other options are on the table.
Mr. President, it was an honor indeed to host you in the main news of Mega Television in Greece. Thank you very much for this extremely interesting conversation.